Hello, everyone. I'm Colin Tessier of WrestleZone.com. I'm joined by Bill Pritchard to talk about AEW Double or Nothing. Bill, how are you doing tonight?
I'm
This
good.
morning?
How are you?
Good.
Yeah, right.
I'm
This morning.
fried for recording this at 12:10 a.m. because AEW pay-per-views at least this one. I don't know. It didn't run long. It felt long though. So we are recording here very early on Monday morning, but. Overall, I thought this was a fun show. We ended here. We can, I guess, work backwards. We started with the Stadium Stampede match, probably the most hyped match on the card. So in some ways, it made sense to have a main event, but I thought it was interesting that the world title match didn't get that spot. This match surprised me. I think it was kind of written on the wall that the Pinnacle would win and the Inner Circle would lose, so they would have to split up. They've had a good run. They've been part of AW since the TNT deal began back in 2019. So to me, this felt like a good time to have them go their separate ways, but they didn't feel that way. The Inner Circle won, and I guess we might get a third match of some sort between the two staples. But overall, here, what do you think of this? The match it was a very cinematic match, and a lot to talk about there. But overall, what do you think of the match and the decision to have the Pinnacle lose here?
It kind of felt like I'm going to say that it felt like 100% set up for the Pinnacle to lose, and the Inner Circle to kind of get their match back so that they can continue the story. I'm surprised that they went right to the the stable wars. I'm surprised we didn't get some one-on-one matches, some tag matches between the two stables. But at the same time, it kind of makes sense. So maybe now we get those matches in between now and then maybe say All Out. Like, yeah. I don't think they should do another 5-on-5 match until much further down the line, like space it out a little bit. So, I mean, I would say like Santana and Ortiz against FTR makes a lot of sense. Jericho looks like he might miss some time because of his elbow. I know he competed tonight, but the match favored him tonight, so that might buy them some time. And I was really surprised that they kind of hit some of the same cues and they used the stadium like in the same ways. Mm-hmm. But it definitely felt like it stood out on its own. Like two things I will say, the spot where Hager and Wardlow went through the drywall, like that was kind of like, all right. Like, yeah, I know enough like about, I'm doing home improvement right now. Like I know that drywall is unfinished when it looks brown and you can see the label, like you didn't finish the drywall. So if I'm asking for too much believability in wrestling, like I'm sorry, but that was one thing I was like, all right, it's obvious. And then just I don't know, it was fun. Like the one part where they did like the part last year with Hangman where they like stopped and had a drink at the bar, and it was kind of like just to break up the pace, but I would have liked to see them not stop the match to have a drink in the same exact way that they did last year. But other than that, I thought everything was fun. Like that the hammer was there, the violence was amped up a little bit, less theatrical when you take out Matt Hardy, but it was still, it was familiar enough where it was like, if you like the first match, you probably really like this one, but at the same time, it stood out on its own. I think it was the appropriate tone for the match that these two teams needed to have.
Yeah, I thought it did a good job of mixing in the action, violence. MJF was bleeding at one point, and they had a couple even comedy bits. Chris Jericho used like a cardboard cutout of Shad Khan, I think Tony Khan's father, the owner of the Jaguars, and like he wiped it off out of respect.
Yeah, and then he like
funny. Yeah, and we saw a little cameo from Urban Meyer, the Jacksonville Jaguars coach. Some fun stuff like that to make it a little different, to make it stand out. So I thought it was a good main event. Lived up to, I think, what most people would have wanted from it. It would have been hard to really completely surpass or stand apart from last year's, but I think they did enough to make it different enough. So yeah, I would expect this to continue a little more. Probably, the culmination at All Out. Of course, Chris Jericho is hurt, and then you do wonder about they recently announced that Fozzie's going on tour again, so maybe that will be something to keep an eye on as well. But no, definitely a good story to kind of look for going forward here. And I would assume the next time around the Pinnacle will win, but tonight was not their night. The Inner Circle did get their win back, so I overall I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to seeing whatever they come up with next. I don't know how you surpass Blood and Guts and the Stadium Stampede. I don't know what could possibly be even better or more climactic than that, but I'm curious to see what they do with it. Something I'm curious to see what they do with is Mark Henry. Mark Henry is here in AEW. A big story coming out tonight. They've announced that the WWE Hall of Famer will be an analyst and an analyst on Rampage and a coach in general. Right before they announced it, this kind of leaked online, so a little bit of the surprise factor escaped that one, but great get for AEW in terms of having Mark Henry as a coach. I think he could definitely bring a lot as an analyst for Rampage to give that show a different feel to it, rather than the same crews we've been seeing for the other shows. But do you think this is a good move for AEW, Bill? And do you think we might see Mark Henry compete at some point, kind of like the Paul White signing?
100% a great move. He's been responsible for recruiting a lot of people in WWE. The first one that comes to mind is Bianca Belair. Like, she talked about how he got her involved, and she just main evented WrestleMania. So he certainly has an eye for talent. He says he's not done in the ring. I know he said not too long ago that Walter would be a guy that he would like to work with. They didn't. I mean, they could say something like, we're waiting for the scrums to finish up and probably interviews this week, but I don't know if he's going to be a competitor. I think we'll wait and see, because you compared him to Paul White's situation. We haven't seen him wrestle yet, and it's been 2 months, almost 3. So great move all the way around. I don't know how you let him go away. Like, he's got a great mind for the business, but great pickup for AEW.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing with Paul White, with Christian, all these other guys that both in terms of the actual benefit of having them with AEW, and also just the general, like, it's a sign of these veterans' faith in AEW in general. I think it's definitely interesting to see how far this company's come, and I think especially this stretch where it's been Christian, Sting, Paul White, now with Mark Henry, all these really established and respected names, throwing in their hat with AEW, and that to me, that goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
And I would definitely, I look at him more like, I hope that he will be an analyst, and if he ever does step back in the ring, it'll be kind of a little down the road. Is like, I think the expectation is like, at least for some people, they see he gets signed and then it's media like, oh, what's he gonna do in the ring? And it's like, no, this is more like he's gonna be in the analyst role, and maybe in the ring at some point. So I was not expecting this going into the show. So like I said, they leaked it, or it got out a little bit. But another surprise I had not seen coming at all was Lio Rush showed up as the Joker in the Casino Battle Royale. Going into it, a lot of people were it seemed kind of split whether it'd be a big name or whether it would be kind of a less of a big deal. We've seen some big names in the past. We saw Ethan Page debut at Revolution. It's been big name at some point. It's been big names, but for this one, I was not expecting anything too big. Lio Rush is a pretty, he's got some name value, but I wasn't like floored when he came out. I thought, he had a fairly good WWE run. He's been doing good stuff with MLW and just kind of all around the business. But do you think he might be sticking around for in AEW, or is this more of a one night kind of thing potentially?
I mean, he's working with MLW and he's working with different promotions. So, I mean, I could see him getting a few shows out of it. I mean, we kind of thought the same thing about Matt Sydal the last time around, where, collectively, I'll say the opinion about each respective guy being the Joker's card. Some people were underwhelmed. There was a vocal minority that was like, speaking more about Lio Rush's talent, because there's no denying that. But I think as far as the expectations being a Joker's card, like you can't have, like the biggest free agent on the market every single time. So I think if you keep that in mind, it was a great choice, because nobody expected Lio Rush here. Like that's the point of it, because you don't want the predictable person to come out. And I think he added something to it. It ultimately wasn't a very long stay in the match. It was pretty much dominated by the Hardys, the HFO. So we'll wait and see. I think there's certainly some interesting seeing him around, but I don't know. I don't know if they have another show, so we'll see. But I don't think he's done with MLW. I think.
Yeah, I mean most times from what I can recall, at least off the top of my head, like even a guy like Matt Cardona, who was around for a per date deal for a couple of months, just a brief kind of thing. I wouldn't expect it to be a one night only kind of thing. Because this is a fairly, even if like he wasn't the biggest name, it's a big spot to give somebody. It's like it's the Joker in this battle royale. There's a lot of buzz about it, so I wouldn't think they'd necessarily, I hate to say waste it, but you would hope that they would maximize it however they can, even if it is another short-term kind of thing, just to get them on some Dynamite matches, or even if it's Rampage in August. That'd probably be what I expect, even if it's not a 3-year deal like Ethan Page got. It's something a little beyond tonight. I think there definitely would be some interest in that, and that would be beneficial for AEW, because like you said, there's no denying his talent. So I'm curious what he does with that going forward. So I think it was like you said, the best part of it was that nobody saw it coming. It's like you could have predicted any number of people, but probably nobody could have predicted Lio Rush before the show. So hats off to AEW for that one. And so in other news, we saw a triple threat match between Kenny Omega, Pac, and Orange Cassidy for the world title. I like this match where all three guys look great. It was a really good way to make Orange Cassidy look like a genuine competitor, not like this comedy act. He's done that over and over again, but you put him in there with Kenny Omega and Pac, two of the very best in the company, and he looked great from start to finish. All three guys really stood out to me. I thought it was a fun spot at the end when Kenny Omega used pretty much all of his title belts to hit Pac. He's got this whole belt collector thing going. There was a ref bump. Got a little crazy there at the end. But in the end, Kenny Omega did retain very, very closely. He just pretty much rolled up Orange Cassidy in a crucifix, kind of leaving the door open for a potential rematch with Orange at some point. And we might as well kind of throw it in there, because I forgot to mention for the Battle Royale, Jungle Boy won. It came down to Jungle Boy and Christian. Because Jungle Boy won, he got a title match. And during the show, they announced that match will be in 2 weeks on Dynamite. So I kind of thought that might be more of a longer term thing, but instead they'll be running that out in 2 weeks. So Kenny Omega quickly going from this great match to this title match with Jungle Boy in just 2 weeks. What do you think of this match here, and looking forward to this match with Jungle Boy?
The match itself was great. I thought, like you mentioned, the spot with all the different titles, I thought that was fun. In a way, I didn't really like how Dawn was so involved in the finish, but I get it. I really like how they keep throwing a bunch of stuff at Kenny, like on both AEW and Impact, because you have to remember that he has the match with Moose coming up. He's still the Impact champion. Putting him right against Jungle Boy is a really great match that they could put on TV. It does a great, lifts Jungle Boy no matter what happens. Does he win? I don't know about that. I think most people would just immediately say Kenny's just going to successfully defend the title, but I think it's going to elevate Jungle Boy the same way that his first match with Chris Jericho did during the first year of Dynamite.
Yeah.
I just think right now they are really doing a good job of star building and elevating people, whether they win or lose. And not to change subject, but you kind of saw that in the tag team match tonight, like with the Young Bucks winning, you still had, them elevating Moxley and Kingston too, where they didn't look bad coming out of it. It looked like they could have won, but at the same time, it could have went either way. And I kind of feel that way about what they're doing with Jungle Boy. Orange Cassidy looked amazing. It felt like, high gear for Kenny and Pac, but then Orange was picking his spots, using, the opportunities to really get pops. The near falls were awesome. I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought. Just, I thought it was going to be a little bit less balanced, I guess is the right way to put it. Like, I thought we were going to see like a little more one-on-one stuff, and then like, the guy rolls out of the ring and like takes a breather, but it was very everybody was in sync with each other.
Absolutely. And it's worth noting this was the first title match, triple threat world title match in AEW history. So wasn't really sure what to expect with this one. And a lot of time in WWE, you do have that formula where it's singles and one guy rolls to the outside. This, like you said, it was a lot of three-way action. I thought that was one reason why I enjoyed it a lot. But yeah, all three guys look great. I really enjoyed this. Like you said, Orange Cassidy picked his spots. He looked great. Pac, both of us looked like they really could win at any different point. It's something that's like really grown on me in recent weeks is that Orange Cassidy has a really nice Superman punch. Like, I don't know, just he's got it down pat, like probably one of the better ones I've seen in a while. And Omega sold it beautifully. Like he'd just been like punched by a world-class boxer. I thought this. In every way, this was a really fun match. Everyone looked great, and that's really what you really want to see. And I think that's something AEW kind of has down, where, like you said, no matter really who wins or loses, most of the time, especially in these big matches, everybody comes out looking good. You mentioned that for Moxley and Kingston. I think that was true as well. At one point in that match, the Bucks were kind of like stomping Kingston. He was like no selling it, and he looked like a genuine like tough guy. Not that he hasn't before, but just like little moments like that really help. I will say that was another match that really surprised me. Like, I didn't necessarily expect Mox and Kingston to win, but because of the live crowd, because of just how well Mox and Kingston have been working together, I thought they might win the titles there, and they didn't. The Bucks won the titles, and their reign continues. So now the Elite still very much in control on AEW in general. But I thought that was a fun match, and I think, did that open the show? Or it was really early on, so that was a fun, like, just fun energy for kicking off this show. And I think about like
match. The tag match?
No, the Hangman and Cage open the show. That's right.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. The singles match and then the tag.
That's right.
Yeah, you were talking about packing a punch, and I kind of I'm like, okay, do I want to see Orange Cassidy and Anthony Ogogo now?
That'd be fun,
right? Like, I know that's like a weird transition, but I was like, as soon as you said like packs a punch, I'm like, well, there's a boxer that we just saw tonight. He lost, and I don't have a strong opinion either way about the match, but like, it was slow to start. It got better as it went. Ogogo looked good. I'm wondering what's next, because the whole foreign heel thing, like, it didn't really work for like the past 10 years. I don't know why it worked here, especially when, not to get too far into it, but people's opinion about the United States isn't at an all-time high right now. So how... And I respect Cody's opinion. Like, you're proud to be an American, and you're the, but that doesn't mean that somebody has to be the foreign heel. Like, we've done that before, but I'm kind of wondering where they go from here. I mean, Cody beat him pretty decisively, and I'm wondering what's next for Ogogo. So I think, maybe putting it, like, now that we're talking about it, maybe putting him in some kind of feud with a guy like Orange Cassidy, where he like thinks he's going to rough him up really quick, and it's not as easy.
I'd like to see that. I think that'd be fun. I
Kind of
feel
like
like
the same position Kenny took this feud right now with him, and he was proven wrong. So
yeah. Maybe something. I mean, it's a nice clash of styles and personalities. I think we might be getting a little more of this Factory and Nightmare Family stuff because I think they announced for Dynamite this week it'll be Cody and Lee Johnson versus I think Nick Komoroto and QT Marshall. So it looks like we're getting a little more of that, at least in the short term. But I think definitely like there seems to be a pretty easy bridge to a Go-Go and Orange Cassidy at some point, just because that very fun clash of the serious boxer and a go-go and Orange Cassidy being Orange Cassidy. And again, one thing I hadn't necessarily thought about before tonight, but now that you mentioned it, I think that'd be pretty darn fun. So if that's something that happens eventually, I think that it could be really good. I mean, we did see, that's worth noting, this was a Go-Go's first pay-per-view match, I'm pretty sure. And he's still like really very pretty in his early stages here in AEW. So, I feel like we're just kind of scraping the surface of what he could do. And he looked really good against Cody Rhodes. And I think a match with Orange Cassidy could really help both guys, like we've been saying, for that clash of styles. So I'd like to see that.
That was his fourth match ever.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Third in AEW, first pay-per-view, like you said, but he's an athlete. I think he's one of the unique guys where you can tell he's going to learn a lot, and he looked good tonight. It was, it was a little bit longer than we've seen him. Like I think the first two matches in AEW were like a minute and then maybe 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So he went a little bit longer here, and I think now that you brought it up, the Nightmare Family and the Factory stuff, like that's gonna continue. But I think if you want to make him more TV friendly, I don't really know how to put it, but like I think you're gonna have to put him against the characters without making him a character and exposing him like that. Like right. I think you can really get something out of him with like in that stable, like he can be the heavy, QT is the the character. So
yeah, I mean, I think that'd be a good way to go about it. It's just weird because like now we've seen he's been in this prominent spot kind of on his own, or not on his own, but like in this featured spot in this feud, and like it'd be weird to kind of see him step back to that in a way where it's like it sounds like you're kind of having him play the heavy like Wardlow in a way where he's kind of like in the background. Like it'd be interesting to see how they would potentially shift him back to that. Although maybe that'd be for the best to kind of like avoid overexposing him or avoid putting too much on his shoulders too soon. No, I think that might be a good idea. So whatever's next for him, I was impressed by what he did tonight, and I think he's got a very bright future. Someone else who has a very bright future is Brit Baker, who defeated Hikaru Shida, ending her reign at well over a year, actually a little over a year now. But the DMD era is here. This is a very good match here. I know a lot of people were really looking forward to this one. Nesher saying that she gave the show a 9. The ladies match made the show. And I think this is one of those matches where it felt like very much so the writing was on the wall, where like Brit Baker had to win this match. She's gotten over like Rover in recent weeks, if not months, where she's really generally become the face of at least the women's division, if not AEW itself, dating back to the Lights Out match and maybe even before that. But very quickly, she's just really gotten a lot of support from the fans, genuinely so. And she won this match with a little help from Reba, but I thought this was a very good match. It was fitting to be the end of Shida's long reign, and very well deserved for Britt Baker. And I think this is something that a lot of people wanted to see sooner. But I'm very glad at least we're getting it now. But what do you think of the match and Baker's crowning moment here, Bill?
The moment they put the title on the hot talent, I think that was the right move. The match had this one too, like I mentioned before with Orange Cassidy, but like this one had a bunch of really great falls, especially at the end. Almost to the point where I was like, all right, this has to be it, because the crutch shot, and then almost right after that, Britt used the title she super kicked it into her face and then did a curb stomp on it, and that still wasn't enough. And I was like, almost like that should have been it. I at one point thought that Brit wasn't gonna win just because of the crutch shot. I almost thought like they were gonna turn her face and have like her and Rebel split, but they didn't. But yeah, like I can't say enough about Sheeta's reign was great. Let's see what they can do with Brit. I thought Tony, I thought he was going to interview her and he just went and congratulated her. I thought that was a really great move. Very touching moment. I don't know if they're going to be able to keep her heel. Like that's going to be the next test to see, because she's getting so many cheers and she's getting over, and it's kind of like a, not like a straight bad guy, but like she's, kind of like a fun heel. And
Right.
I think showing like the stuff with Tony tonight, and then, people are behind her, it's going to be interesting to see if they can keep her as a heel. So I really enjoyed the match. This one was one of the best matches of the night. I don't think anybody would disagree.
No. And the wondering about whether they could keep her a heel or potentially turn her face, I mean, that was the narrative heading into this match, and especially now that Baker has won, DGSA wondering, could we see even a double turn, with Sheeta becoming a heel, Baker becoming a face? I mean, I think at least maybe even if it's not right now, Baker will probably be a face at some point in the near future. She's been a heel for a while now, and I think because she does have that genuine support, that they could easily turn into a face. But it's fair to wonder if that would work, because she's been doing such good work as a heel. So,
not to mention, what do you do on the other side, like Thunder Rose? So I'm looking at the rankings that were last week's. I don't see the link, but Thunder Rose is number 2. She, they just had that great lights out match and that whole feud. So I don't know if they go right back to that. And Thunder Rose is not going to be a heel. So you have Ty, Nyla Rose, and Red Velvet. And I feel like, if you can try to keep Brit heel as long as you can, or just kind of play with the shades of gray and, don't try to establish those, just, don't try, I want to see them try to keep her a bad guy as long as they can, or at least just kind of leave it undefined, because if they try to turn her back to a face really quick, she might not have, that same dynamic that she's been able to get in recent months. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see another match with Sheeta.
Yeah. I would think so, because of, although she kind of made her tap out cleanly in the literal end, there was the crutch shot, there was the belt shot. So it seems like a natural reason for a rematch like that, especially like you just mentioned, where the rankings, you were just looking at it like more of the heel face reasoning, but I look at that on paper like, Conti got a title shot a couple weeks ago. Now Rose could get a title shot, but they need to kind of build somebody up to potentially challenge Baker at this point. So it feels like it might be the better play to give Sheeta a rematch in the near future, and then kind of start building someone up for probably All Out or something.
I saw this thrown out earlier. It might have actually been Ross Berman, so I will give him credit right now. Britt against Serena Deeb for both titles.
That'd be something.
That seems like something that people could get behind without worrying about building people up. It could literally just be title for title. Let's see who's the best.
Yeah. And then, you mentioned that there's also the possibility at some point we could see, because AEW is working with Impact, maybe a match with Deonna Purrazzo. I know that Baker and Purrazzo are friends, and that's something they've talked about in interviews and such. So maybe that could be something down the line as well, where Baker could become a belt collector in her own way, where I could definitely see her facing and defeating Deeb and taking the NWA title. And I think that'd be good for everybody involved. That definitely give the NWA title a nice rub. And from what we saw, Deeb in the pre-show tonight, she had a good match with Rio. So I think that'd be a good match as well. But that would definitely be an option, because Deeb has been around on AEW, so that wouldn't be too crazy to think that could be an option at some point. So between Sheeta, and Deeb, and the people in the rankings you mentioned, she has options. AEW has options, but I do want to see them potentially beyond Sheeta and Deeb build someone up to be ready for that next, I guess at this point, the next pay-per-view match, I guess. So I'm curious to see who they decide to go with in that sense. And I obviously don't want to skate over one of the bigger stories now, was that Sting returned to the ring for the first time in 6 years. The WWE Hall of Famer, obviously a legend and icon, was in there in the ring. He competed in a cinematic match at Revolution, but this was his first time back in the ring. He was teaming with Darby Allin, facing Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. And I was very impressed with this. I thought Sting looked great, both just generally speaking and in terms of what he was doing in the ring. He picked up the win over Scorpio Sky. He hit the Scorpion Death Drop DDT. And so Allin and Sting won this match and potentially put an end to the feud. I don't know how you can really keep going here, because obviously it'd be one thing if Sting and Allin lost, but it was pretty decisive and it was a good match and I enjoyed it. But I thought this was a great showing for Sting, and for all the doubt that he quote unquote still had it, or that he'd be able to kind of hold his own in a match like this, I thought he really did. And I thought they just really told a nice story of this was a good tag team match. And I saw some people wondering if we could potentially see Allin and Sting chase the tag titles. I don't know about that, but at least in the for tonight, I thought this was a good match and a good showing for Sting. What do you think, Bill?
I don't want to say blown away, but I was very, very impressed by how he looked, how he hasn't been in the ring in 6 years. Like, the cinematic match was something different, and I love that in its own way. But getting back into this, and he just seemed very in sync with Darby. I thought he looked really good. I'm really excited to see how the Ethan and Darby feud continues, because they have their own history in Evolve and before AEW, and the throw into the crowd was just awesome.
Yeah.
So, and then the slaps in the submission, they were slapping each other in the face. Like, this is going to be really exciting for, like, I only know a little bit of it. Like, I've seen some of it, but I don't know the entire feud and followed it like live. But I feel like they could, really do something cool here, like, and make it a personal feud. And then, I don't, I don't know where they go with Ethan and Sky staying together. Like, who knows where they go? I think Darby and Sting are gonna stick together for a little bit longer. And this was, it. I don't want to say overachieved, but it was, it was really exciting, and it looked. Yeah. They all look good together.
I agree, and to me, it exceeded my expectations, and it did leave that at least wondering, if we could see more of Sting in the ring like this, and what that might mean. Obviously not on a necessarily regular basis, but for more pay-per-view matches like this, where you do it, every couple months, it seems like something that could be possible. And it's not too crazy to think that Allin and Sting could challenge for the tag titles in a one-off, maybe at something like All Out, or something like to that effect. But I definitely do think, we might be getting more of Allin and Ethan Page, because that's been a feud that's been brewing, in recent weeks. So, I think that's definitely something we'll see kind of unfold on Dynamite here. And as for Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, I think in a recent interview, Sky said that he thinks of himself and Page as two singles guys kind of teaming up rather than a traditional tag team. But that doesn't mean that they're like going to automatically go the separate ways. They did say that if given a shot, they would fight for the tag titles. So I think, why mess with a good thing? They're good together, and you don't necessarily need to break them up. It's good to have that tag team depth. So I hope they stick together at least for the short term. But overall, I thought it was a great match, a great showing for Sting. Overall, from like generally speaking, for me, I don't know. Like, I came into the show like really excited about it. I think it'd be really good, and a lot of the matches were good. And I guess for me, some of the like the outcomes were a little not just surprising us. I was so kind of off put, but I don't know. I thought this would have been a great opportunity to have the inner circle break up and to have maybe some more, not just title changes, but some of the ways things went tonight. I guess I want to see them go differently. So it's hard for me to give tonight's show a really high score. I'd probably go for like a 7.8 or so. What do you think, Bill, overall tonight?
I'll give it an 8. Maybe I'd go as high as an 8.5. All the stuff that I feel like was set in stone, like they were still good matches. Like I'm gonna say the Cody match, the Miro match, and Kenny retaining, like those three really felt like those guys, those respective winners were going to win no matter what. And they were still very exciting, like had some great near falls. So getting to the end result wasn't as bad as, having it be so one-sided or uninteresting. Stadium Stampede was really fun, other than the two minor things that I said, like absolutely entertaining from start to finish. I loved the cameo from Urban Meyer. I loved all, like Conan, all that stuff. I wouldn't really say there was a bad match. I would say, if anything, like the Cody and Agogo was indifferent, but like Agogo looked good. It was, it was what it was. But
yeah,
I think top to bottom, they were really good matches. Even the casino match, like there was some story with the HFO. Big win for Jungle Boy. The stuff with Christian at the end. So, even though some of it was predictable, it was still really great in-ring action. I would say, like, give it an 8.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of good response on the socials and whatnot, and even the comments here. DJ Cassidy with a 9, Nash Curse with a 9. It seems like a lot of people are really coming off the show feeling pretty high about it, and that's great. I thought it was a fun show. There was a lot to like about it. And some things didn't quite hit for me, but I'm definitely seeing a lot of positive reactions overall. So it seems like it was another win for AEW here. Anthony Manzano was an 8.5. So generally speaking, it seems like this show delivered, and unlike Revolution, it didn't have a horrible botch to end it. So I guess in that sense, it's a step in the right direction like that. So I thought it was a good show to kind of propel AEW into the summer season here with the return of fans full time, supposedly right around the corner. It's worth noting this show was at full capacity, so it was as normal a show as we could get, and that we've gotten from AEW since the pandemic started. So having that crowd energy back definitely was a plus, and added even more to some of these matches that were great anyway. So I think it was definitely worth the time, worth the money, worth the energy of watching it. So and obviously, if you're a hardcore AEW fan, especially, I'm sure that you probably your guy money's worth with matches like Stadium Stampede. So definitely a good show, not a perfect show, but I definitely enjoyed it. So overall here, obviously, like this show and everything we do here at WrestleZone is available on any number of streaming platforms, whether it's SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, or Apple Podcasts, whatever it may be. We've got you covered. So John Clark and I will be back here. I guess now it's tonight because it's Monday for the Raw post show. John Clark and I do the NXT post show on Tuesdays. The Dynamite Dudes Attitude will talk more about everything AEW later this week. Dominic is currently on the scene in Jacksonville. He was at the show in person. And then Robert D. Fleece and I do the SmackDown Double Down, at least temporarily on Saturdays, because Friday will be Dynamite again this week. So lots of good stuff going on in the world of wrestling, and we thank you for your support. We thank you for listening. Bill, anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
I feel like I need my own podcast to plug. I'm gonna do something Thursdays, since you have every other night of the week cornered.
Hey, it's not cornered. You're always free to come on or whatever you want to do.
No, you're everywhere. You're killing it. You're doing a good job. And then you're like, oh, John's on here when he's not at a playoff game. I'm surprised he's going to be around tomorrow.
Yeah.
But no, just stay tuned for what you can check out now. We have a really awesome interview with Sean Spears, who was in the Stadium Stampede match tonight. I really enjoyed getting a chance to talk to him. I haven't really done a one-on-one interview with him. It's been scrums, but like, you know, I was glad I got a chance to talk to him about the match tonight, how he can grow, where the pinnacle goes from here, you know, their depth. We're going to have interviews with Fred Rosser this week. I know they just announced the Nexus documentary is premiering, I think, in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Over the weekend. So I talked to him about that. A lot of stuff in his career. We previewed a little bit of it with his New Japan work. I have a new interview with Ted Dibiase Jr. coming out. That one was really fun. We talked about what he's been up to, some of his work with the $1 Million Title, with Legacy. I will give Robert DeFelice credit for this one. I asked Ted about the promo in honor of Double or Nothing, the original one, where Cody was like, the ref, is he trying to F on me? I asked Ted about that. So I got Ted's side of the story. So that was fun. And I will give Robert credit. Couple more interviews in the works. And then we'll be on the Impact Iron Man podcast or the Media Scrum, whatever. And then we'll have a bunch of stuff from Double or Nothing tonight. So busy week. Happy Memorial Day to you, James, everybody that supports us. I don't have a day off tomorrow or right now. I'm going to sleep for a little bit and keep going.
Me too. But until next time, everyone, we thank you for listening, and I guess enjoy wrestling. Take care, everyone.
Have a good night.